Tensions in the Gulf remain at the boiling point, with the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil lifelines, still heavily restricted under Iranian pressure. Recent U.S. intelligence assessments make one thing clear: Tehran is in no rush to reopen the strait. And according to sources familiar with the matter, Iran views its grip over this narrow but vital waterway as its most powerful leverage against the U.S. By keeping the artery partially choked, Iran is able to keep global energy prices elevated. And that brings us to a widening gap between claims and reality. President Trump has insisted that the U.S. will reopen the strait, saying it would take just a little more time. But more than a month into the conflict, the strait remains restricted, and there's still no clear indication of how exactly Washington plans to achieve that objective. Earlier, the president had just suggested that U.S. Navy ships would escort oil tankers through the strategic passage, but that plan now appears increasingly uncertain. U.S. military officials have acknowledged they are not prepared for such an operation, warning that both naval escorts and slow-moving commercial vessels could become easy targets. On the ground, Iran has been steadily reinforcing its position. Despite being outgunned, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps have deployed a range of asymmetric tactics since the conflict began on February 28th. These tactics include targeting civilian vessels, deploying naval mines, and even demanding passage fees, effectively turning the strait into a high-risk and, in many cases, uninsurable route. The consequences have been immediate and far-reaching. Global oil prices have surged to multi-year highs. Fuel shortages are hitting countries dependent on Gulf energy supplies, and rising energy costs now threaten to fuel inflation in the U.S. And yet, amid the standoff, a pattern is beginning to emerge. In a significant development, a container ship linked to a French shipping company has successfully sailed out of the Gulf, believed to be the first Western-operated vessel to make the journey since the conflict began. And a tanker sailing under the flag of Panama and associated with a Japanese shipping firm has also crossed the strait. Taken together, these developments point to a calculated Iranian strategy: restrict U.S.-linked maritime movement while allowing selective passage to others, particularly those nations willing to maintain distance from Washington's position. The signal is also clear: trade can move without direct U.S. involvement as long as countries are not aligned against Iran. Additionally, the crisis is exposing deep fractures within the Western alliance. Across Europe, key powers have drawn a firm line. Germany, France, and Italy have all ruled out military participation. The United Kingdom has also signaled restraint, with Prime Minister Starmer making it clear that Britain will not be drawn into a wider regional war. France has stated that reopening the strait by force is unrealistic. Spain, however, has taken the strongest stance, refusing not only to join any military effort, but also denying the use of its airspace and bases for operations linked to the conflict. What we are witnessing is the emergence of a new fault line within NATO. The alliance remains intact, but its internal cohesion is under visible strain. The Iran crisis has not created these divisions, but it has brought them sharply into focus. As the standoff continues, one question dominates the global stage: when will this vital route reopen, and at what cost? The answer may well define the next phase of this war.